top stories tonight in Y News. The Department of Social Welfare and Development targets to release the 500 peso subsidy for low-income families by the end of the month.
The National Kidney and Transplant Institute says it is experiencing shortages in beds and health workers.
The wearing of face masks in well-ventilated and open spaces is no longer required in Cebu province.
U.S. biotech company Moderna announced positive results for a new vaccine that targets both the original COVID strain and Omicron variant.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Thursday, June 9, 2022. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am Herlene Delgado.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide with the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts. I am William Theo.
First in the news, the government targets to roll out the program providing a 500 peso monthly cash aid to low-income households this month. This is just weeks left before President Rodrigo Duterte formally steps down from office. Rosa Licons reports why.
A joint memorandum order has already been signed by concerned government agencies to begin the distribution of the 500 peso monthly cash aid for low-income households. Department of Social Welfare and Development Director Irene Dumlao said they are expecting the rollout before the end of President Rodrigo Duterte's term on June 30, 2022.
We remain committed to deliver the promise of President Duterte na ibigay na po itong karagdagang tulong doon sa ating mga kababayan. At inaasahan po natin that itong 500 pesos per month na subsidy ay maumpisahan na nga po bago magtapos yung termino ni Pangulo Duterte.
In March 2022, President Duterte directed the Department of Finance to give additional monthly cash aid for poor families. From the initial 200 pesos, it has been increased to 500 pesos to mitigate the impact of fuel price hikes.
Ito po ay manggagaling doon sa mga napahatiran na natin ng tulong under the unconditional cash transfer na in-implement po ng DSWD from 2018 to 2020. So kabilang na po dyan yung mga four-fifth beneficiaries, yung mga beneficiaryo under the social pension, and yun din pong mga karagdagang na-identify under our listahan.
According to the DSWD, around 12.4 million poor households, including members of the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program and social pension beneficiaries, will receive the monthly cash aid. Dumlao also mentioned that they are now looking to distribute the first tranche of the financial assistance to families with cash cards. Rosa Licos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Transport and commuter groups call for the expansion of fare increase implemented in Metro Manila and neighboring provinces. This is after the LTFRB approves the 1 peso provisional fare increase in public utility jeepneys. Asher Cadapan Jr. explains why.
The 1 peso provisional fare increase for public utility jeepneys was approved by the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board. But the provisional fare is only exclusive for PUJ providing service in the National Capital Region and Regions 3 and 4. This means that the existing authorized fare on all other regions shall remain and continue to be implemented. The National Center for Commuter Safety and Protection welcomes the fare increase as it significantly helps the PUJ operators and drivers severely affected by the fuel price hike. But the commuter group's chairperson Elvira Medina hopes that its implementation should have been further studied for the benefit of other affected public conveyances across the country.
Nakakalungkot po yan sapagkat higit na mas mataas po ang mga fuel sa iba't ibang parte ng Pilipinas. Mayroon pong umaabot na ng 90 pesos. Higit na mas mataas po dahil sa cost of transportation mula po din sa mga depo papunta po dun sa kanilang mga lugar.
The Pangkalahatang Sangguniang Manila and Suburbs Drivers Association, on the other hand, also expresses their gratitude to concerned government agencies who allowed the increase. But the transport group says they will still pursue their other petition of additional 4 peso fare they filed in the LTFRB.
Ang pagdimit po ay bago sa katapusan ng buwan ito at tuloy pa rin po yung aming hearing. Kanya itong with prayer po doon sa aming petition, yung 1 peso na gawin 10 pesos na, pinasasalamatan po.
LTFRB spokesperson Executive Director Maria Cristina Casion, however, explains that the 1 peso fare increase that the agency approved for jeepneys in certain regions is just provisional. It was also based on the petition of transport groups who specified the regions that will be covered by its implementation. The other petitions are still being discussed by the LTFRB and stakeholders.
Ang prayer nila is a 5 peso increase, and while waiting for yung hearing process, humingi sila ng provisional increase na 1 peso para lang ma-stop na yung kahirapan nga nila doon sa ever increasing na fuel, no. So kino-continue lang natin yung hearing on the main case.
The next hearing for the fare hike petition is scheduled on June 28. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Market vendors from Balintawak Cloverleaf Market in Quezon City warned of increased prices of vegetables as they staged a protest against the market management. Janice Henta tells us more.
Market vendors expressed their grievances against the Balintawak Cloverleaf Market management. Jose Miguel Magunay, president of Balintawak Cloverleaf Market Association, said they are protesting against the poor state of the market, which has not been renovated nor improved for years, the absence of business permits, and the lack of parking spaces. The market stall rental also increased about 4 times from 1,000 pesos per day to 3,000 pesos.
Wala na pong improvement dito kahit konti. No lease contract, no management certification, no clear management of market authority of person who get collection, illegal use of official receipt. Yung pong mga ginagamit nilang resibo ngayon, puro peke na po. Hindi po issued ng BIR. Pangalawa po, no franchise. Wala pong prangkisa to. Wala ring mga sanitary building permit, wala na po. Baguhin naman nila. Kung sino man po yung karapat-dapat na mamuno dito, sana mag-take over na sila. Kasi nakakasawa na po eh. Walang improvement, puro kuha lang sila ng pera.
Quezon City Market Development and Administration Department Project and Program Officer Procorio Lipane said he is coordinating with the Balintawak Cloverleaf Market Management regarding the matter. Lipane added that the management failed to secure a market permit for 2 years.
Family corporation kasi nagkaroon intra-corporate dispute. Sometimes hindi sila ng franchise, hindi na naayos. Wala silang business permit ngayon so far. Kanya nga, binibigyan natin sila ng chance, maayos sila yung intra-corporate dispute nila, and we will mediate. Pinatawag namin sila, both parties.
The official will call for a meeting with the management to help settle the issues. However, if the disputes are not settled, Lipane warned,
So binibigyan natin ng warning, yung both parties ayusin yan, pag hindi masasara yung palengke.
Janice Hente, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Department of Agriculture has implemented various measures to mitigate the impact of global economic challenges on domestic food supply and prices. Eileen Cerudo has the story.
If the Ukraine-Russia conflict continues, the United Nations says it would worsen the lack of food supply globally. UN says the world is now facing a difficulty due to the lack of access of food supply after several countries stopped exporting their products. Based on the UN report, by 2022, between 179 million to 181 million will be affected due to low exportation, and around 19 million are expected to face chronic undernourishment by 2023. The agency also continues its call for the Ukraine-Russia conflict to end. Meanwhile, the Department of Agriculture says the country will experience the impact of the global food crisis during the last quarter of 2022.
The last quarter of the year, that's where you can feel most of the impact.
In order to prepare for the impact of the global food crisis, Agriculture Secretary William Dar said programs and contingency plans are already prepared. This includes boosting local food production in the country through the department's Project 2 of the Plan program. Under the said program, individuals are encouraged to plant seeds to increase food production.
This is the time na talaga yung food sovereignty has to be now our overarching goal. Para with the available resources, significant budgetary resources, ay talagang itataas natin yung level ng local food production.
Aside from boosting local farming, the DA would also develop local fish production and formulation where local feeds will be used. According to Secretary Dar, this will decrease importation of feeds abroad amid rising prices.
Now, the third aspect is enhancing the urban and peri-urban agriculture. Alam natin, ang dami pa potential ng mga urban areas. Bring in vertical farming, lahat ito, aquaponics and the like. So everyone must become plantito-plantita.
Food mobilization will also be improved and the DA will continue providing fertilizers and financial assistance. Eileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
President-elect Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. has instructed his cabinet members to review the available budget of different government agencies. This as the incoming administration is discussing their priorities to help rebuild the economy. Nel Maribuhok will give us the details live. Yes, Nel?
Arlene, President-elect Bongbong Marcos Jr. instructed his cabinet members to recast the available government budget of different departments. According to incoming Labor Secretary Bienvenido Benny Laguesma, Marcos Jr. wants to balance the remaining budget for paying the country's trillion peso COVID-19 debt and help the education sector.
Ibabalances na hindi mo kalimutan na may mga services kagaya ng health, education, na dapat bigyan natin ng karapatang resources at at the same time, yung tinatawag nga na social protection, yung mga vulnerable sector natin sa panahon na ito, medyo agapayanan, pero mayroon ding habilin na dapat siguro kung makakalika ng mas maraming hanap buhay para yung mga naghahanap ng trabaho, dito na lamang manatili sa ating bansa.
The incoming administration also plans to continue the infrastructure programs of the Duterte administration.
Especially yung build, kasi pwede yung makatulong upang makalika ng mas maraming trabaho. Ayusin din yung pagpapatupad ng mga proyekto na makakatulong sa mga manggagawa at saka yung mga mahihirap na kababayan natin.
Laguesma said they are looking on alternative ways on how to conserve energy, help the community and transport sector amid the series of fuel price hike. Earlier, Marcos said he is looking at the national budget for 2023 to fund economic stimulus measure amid the ongoing threat of the COVID-19 pandemic. Back to you, Harleen.
Thank you, Nel Maribohok, reporting live.
Incumbent Cavite's 7th District Representative Jesus Crispin Boying Remulla said he will meet again with outgoing Justice Secretary Menardo Guevarra to discuss further the complex problems besetting the Justice Department. Dante Amento tells us why.
Outgoing Department of Justice Secretary Menardo Guevarra discussed with incoming DOJ Chief Jesus Crispin Remulla and his transition team certain matters or concerns that may need immediate attention. It was part of the transition process in DOJ.
Marami. Too long to discuss now, too much. But masasabi ko lang, very informative and we may need another one. Sa dami ng problema talaga na nandyan.
But Remulla refused to give details what particular issues were tackled.
Marami talaga eh. it's a big work in progress na ating itutuloy at ating ilulungsad ang mga improvements na pwedeng gawin.
The incoming DOJ Secretary disclosed that they need another meeting with Guevarra.
We may ask for a second one kasi masalimuot talaga ang problema ng sistema na kailangan natin isaayos. At talaga nakakatuwa naman na pinaghandaan nila na bigyan kami ng mga impormasyon na nauukol sa mga suliranin na sumasambalot sa ating sistema ng hustisya.
Secretary Guevarra meanwhile assures to be available for consultations with Remulla in the future. Guevarra also has identified suggestions he planned to raise with the new Justice Secretary, including pursuing the 3-year joint program with the UN on human rights promotion and protection, strengthen the campaign against cybercrimes, the transfer of the National Bilibid Prison, and to professionalize the Bureau of Corrections. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Cebu provincial government is the first local government to scrap the face mask rule, one of the primary health protocols set by national authorities to stem coronavirus transmission. Lalaine Moreno will tell us why live. Yes, Lalaine, good evening. Go ahead.
Good evening, William. Cebu Governor Gwen Garcia has issued an executive order this Thursday stating that the wearing of face masks will only be required in closed or air-conditioned spaces. It will now be optional in well-ventilated and open spaces. Garcia clarified that people are still encouraged to wear face masks, especially in crowded outdoor areas. The executive order states that persons who are experiencing COVID-19 symptoms, such as fever, cough, or runny nose, are required to wear masks at all times, even outdoors. Garcia added there is a need to rationalize the requirement on wearing a face mask as a necessary step. As the COVID-19 cases count decreases, Cebu province has gradually opened its tourist destinations in order to revive the tourism industry and give jobs for Cebuanos. Currently, the province is under alert level 2 until the 15th of June. Back to you, William.
Yes, thank you, Lalaine Moreno, reporting live.
The National Kidney and Transplant Institute says it has reached full capacity for kidney and non-COVID patients. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
Non-COVID-19 patients have fully occupied the wards in the National Kidney and Transplant Institute in Quezon City. NKTI Executive Director Dr. Rosemary Oroset-Liqueta said they had to reopen NKTI's gymnasium and transfer patients there just to cater to their medical needs. However, with the influx of patients, the facility is now in full capacity.
Hindi COVID ang nagpataas ng aming statistics nitong mga nakaraang araw. Dati nag-100 na, 110, 140. And then itong last Sunday nga, kailangan na namin maglipat ng mga pasyente from the ER. So naglipat kami sa ibang ospital. Hindi COVID ang nagpalaki ng statistics namin, kundi mga kidney patients. Ang iba nga nasa wheelchair na, hindi na healthy yon para sa mga pasyente, no? Lalo sila magkakasakit.
There are no longer space for more emergency cases. In effect, NKTI is now short-staffed and needs more nurses. Dr. Liqueta said they need 90 more nurses. This is why the NKTI management is urging nurses to apply in the hospital for additional manpower.
Inaanyayahan natin sila na dito sila mag-apply sa NKTI. Isang specialty center, almost 35 to 36 pa, entry level. Pero di hamak namang mas mataas talaga abroad, no? Hindi naman din sila maka-abroad agad kasi hinihingin pa sila ng experience. So, maganda po nasa government sila mag-training. Aside from maraming cases na matutuhan sila, pag tinanong sila ng background nila, saang hospital kayo nanggaling o na-train, malaking bagay na masabi nila, National Kidney and Transplant Institute.
Currently, the head nurse assigned at NKTI's gymnasium had been tapping other departments in the hospital to help them assist and take care of the kidney patients in need of urgent medical assistance, peritoneal dialysis and hemodialysis.
Since wala naman talaga kaming pool of nurses for the gymnasium, mga nurses po namin dito, I usually ask help from other units. Kung may mga excess staff sila doon or kung kukonti man ang mga census ng ibang units, so I ask for their help. Humihingi ako ng mga extras nila and I do the scheduling po.
The NKTI also said that the patients brought there are from other provinces and dialysis centers, needing proper and urgent medical attention. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And for the news abroad, pharmaceutical company Moderna says its updated COVID-19 vaccine shows effective results in fighting off both the original COVID strain and the Omicron variant. Paul Gatchalian will give us the details live. Yes, Paul?
Mariel, on Wednesday, Moderna revealed that its Omicron-containing COVID-19 vaccine passed Phase 2 and 3 trials. It was proven to be more effective than 4 doses of the first COVID-19 vaccine, enhancing antibodies by 8 times. With such results, the experimental vaccine mRNA 1273.214 has become the leading booster candidate for the fall of 2022, replacing Moderna's first bivalent candidate. In addition, the results also showed that the vaccine booster was well tolerated by the 437 participants who experienced side effects similar to the second dose of the original Moderna vaccine. According to Moderna, the results are yet to be scientifically reviewed. However, they will continue to monitor the performance of the vaccine at 3 and 6 months, tracking its long-term protection. Meanwhile, due to the ever-mutating nature of COVID-19, the World Health Organization and U.S. officials began to take interest in updating the vaccine formula for upcoming booster shots. Mariel?
Thank you, Paul Gatchalian, for that live report. U.S. President Joe Biden announces an action plan that will help prepare for future pandemics and health emergencies. As part of the plan, the U.S. government and the Pan American Health Organization are launching the America's Health Corps, which will provide specialized training to 500,000 public health and medical science professionals in the next decade. The plan aims to strengthen the health workforce by expanding the investments and the health department and increasing global partnerships within the Americas, making public health services more accessible. Additionally, the U.S. administration will continue to support countries in the Americas to fight the resurgence of COVID-19 cases. The leaders are committed to implement the action plan by 2030. The Kremlin claimed they will restart the shipments of grain from the Russian-occupied Ukrainian port of Berdyansk. However, Ukraine would need to remove its mines first from the Black Sea. Nerissa Dando reports why live. Yes, Nerissa, go ahead.
Good evening, Mariel. Ukraine's Black Sea ports, where 90% of trade from the world's 5th largest grain exporter used to flow, was blockaded since Russia launched a full invasion. The sudden halt of grain export raised concerns that the war in Ukraine will spark a global food crisis and push millions into famine. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov held talks recently with his Turkish counterpart about the possibility of a grain corridor opening up in the coming days. However, Turkish Foreign Minister said that Russia and Ukraine would have to accept any agreement first. Shipping industry insiders say Ukraine's coastal waters would need to be cleared of mines before any shipment across or cross the Black Sea to ensure the safety of vessels and crew. The United Nations subsequently appealed to Russia, Ukraine, and Turkey to agree on a corridor since the invasion began. Meanwhile, Lavrov blamed Western sanctions for the food crisis. He also said that Ukraine needs to let commercial vessels leave its ports safely in order to reach an agreement on a grain corridor. Mariel?
Thank you, Nerissa Dando, for that live report. UK scientists have suggested that love potions, or so-called love drugs, could be the chemical future of relationships and couples therapy. Marvidal Finn will give us the details live. Yes, Marvi, good evening.
Good evening, Marielle. Experts from Oxford University have endorsed that biochemical interventions into love and relationships will no longer be far-off speculations in the next 3 to 5 years. According to Dr. Anna Machen, certain drugs can replicate the effect on the brain of falling in love. These drugs may include the well-known hormone oxytocin, which increases in levels in the human body during hugging. Moreover, low doses of psychoactive substances, including MDMA, which is the active ingredient in ecstasy, are being explored for their transformative implications in the scientific research of love and feelings. Dr. Machen adds that it might just not be a pill for love, but also an anti-love drug or an antidepressant to help get over an ex by severing the emotional connection during a breakup. Despite its promising note, ethical concerns have been flagged, especially for children and vulnerable sexual minorities, as well as conservative groups. This might prolong the rollout of love drugs and questions the necessity of such medications in society, on top of the interpersonal effects that need to be considered. Back to you, Marielle.
All right, thank you for that live report, Marvidal Finn. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Maria Latoza reporting live from Perth, Australia. Good evening.
The Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines reminds the public to properly credit the creators of their reposted contents on social media. Hardin Delgado will tell us why.
Netizens are reminded to veer away from using words like credits to the owner, CTTO, or photo not mine in reposting online contents on social media. The Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines, or IPOPhil, urges the public to ask permission or properly cite the original creators of the contents they share or upload online.
Walang walang kahulugan actually yon. If we will be strict about it, the legality of using CTTO does not excuse yung kumopya o gumamit noon. Dapat kukunin niya yung permiso bago niya ilalathala o gagamitin yung original na content.
IPOPhil Deputy Director General Teodoro Pascua says putting CTTO in shared posts of pictures, videos, or artworks does not do anything and is not an excuse to copy the content.
We hope our people will respect the content of social media na kung hindi sa kanila, at alam naman nila kung hindi sa kanila dahil linalagay nila yung CTTO eh. Alam nila yun eh. So, wag na nila munang kopyahin o di kaya at the very least, kung alam mo kung saan galing, ilagay mo na ito'y quoted from, hindi yung CTTO man lang.
The IPOPhil is also calling on creators to register their original work to protect their intellectual property. The office hopes the proposed amendments in the Intellectual Property Code of the Philippines will be pushed through in the next Congress. This include making the IPOPhil the central body for copywriting materials. Currently, IPOPhil is only deputized by the National Library as a receiving office for the registration and deposit of copyrighted works.
Kailangan kami siguro ang magiging main depository. Ayun, nandun yan sa amendments. Nakausap na rin namin ang National Library na siyang pumapayag na ilipat na sa amin yan. Sana within the last 6 months of this year or up to the first 6 months of next year, then we can start planning and working it out.
Should the transfer of mandate push through, IPOPhil plans to establish an online database for copyrighted works, just like in trademarks and patents, to make it easier for creators to apply and for the public to easily access the original creators of online contents. Harleen Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Our Kasambahay, as the world faces these trying times amid the pandemic, caused by coronavirus, we are inviting everyone to join the Global Prayer for Humanity from Monday to Friday, 9:30 p.m. Philippine time through the social media accounts of Members Church of God International.
And before we close, we will leave you with a word, giving glory to God. From the book of Romans, chapter 13, verse 7, it says, "Render therefore to all their dues, tribute to whom tribute is due, custom to whom custom, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor." Those are the reasons behind the news, June 9, 2022. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am Herlene Delgado.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.